All right. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to the very first episode of the Unicornfairylovelchild channel. So episode 1 is kind of controversial and it's a little bit heavy to unpack, and that's why I made it the first episode, because I want to make sure that our ride and our evolution together starts from the very core of when things go wrong. So episode 1 is going to be about single parenting and healthy co-parenting. And I did have a few people who wanted to chime in. And very graciously, our first guest is Craig. Thank you so much for joining us today, Craig.
No problem.
And I'm really excited to talk to y'all about this, because I do feel like it is something that is a little bit very much misunderstood. And I feel like when we get clarity together, we're able to grow together. So I'm going to first talk about the things that are plaguing us, and then talk about how are things supposed to be done. Because I think a lot of us do things the wrong way because we don't know how we're supposed to do them. So first, we're going to talk about, how does someone become a single parent? So becoming a single parent is not something that I don't think anyone really plans to do. Actually, when I was a little girl, I kind of wanted to be a single parent, believe it or not.
Well, and you say it is something that some people plan to do. Simple reasons, some people can't conceive children.
That's true.
And maybe they're not married and they want children. So it is something that some people choose to do. Yeah. Uh-huh. So, but no, I don't think that that's
the norm.
Yeah, like the normal ideal of having children, And
why do you think that is?
Well, because from experience, I grew up in a single
parent household.
Yes, I did.
With mother or father?
My mother.
Uh-huh.
And she had we did have help. She had help with us from my father's people.
Side of people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like we didn't know our father. So it's a lot of times single parenting doesn't it's how you perceive it to be, because though we lived with her, mm-hmm. she still had the help. Like, you can be in a single parent household, but that don't mean that you're being raised by one
so
parent.
You had more of a co-parenting situation than you had, and I think that's very important for us to distinguish between those two things.
Yeah, so it makes my perception of that totally different from maybe someone else's. And so for me, it wasn't as bad as some
people make it out to be.
Yeah, because like maybe my ideal of it is my mother could never raise a man because she's not a man.
Right.
It's things that she didn't have to deal with that men do deal with.
And you think that's like a blanket statement that applies to everybody?
Yeah, well, she can raise you to be her man. In the sense of, she's going to tell you the things that caters.
That was foreshadowing to another episode of UFL.
Well, yeah, because it's like she's going to teach you how to treat a woman.
Yes, if she knows how to be treated.
Yeah, but that's not the only thing you need to know to be a man.
To be a productive member of society.
Exactly. Yeah, I can know how to treat women great all day, but if I don't know how to do other things that go with that,
doesn't really help you.
I mean, but it's not a bad thing. I didn't mean that in a bad way. I was just
hey man, that's not why we're here.
My single daughter. I have me being a single parent. Mm-hmm. I have one of my daughters in particular that's always with me, but her mother's. That's a situation where we're co-parents.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So when we say single parent, let me give you my definition of single parent. Exactly. And then because I want to make sure that everybody is clear. When we hear the term single parent, usually, even from any other race, the first thing they think of is a struggling black woman with children who doesn't have any help. I did a poll with teenagers. I did a poll with older people, and I did a poll with people who are around my age, which is about the 25 to 30 year range. Being a single parent is not the same as being a single person and parenting.
Exactly.
So being a single parent is being a custodial parent who does not have help from the non-custodial parent or any outside family members. So if you are, and you are independent, living independently. So if you are the mother of 5 children and you and your 5 children live with your mother, you are not a single parent. If you are the mother of 1 child and that child is with your grandmother throughout the week so they can go to school, you are not a single parent. You are a single person who is parenting.
a single parent is, like you say, someone who's totally dependent on self.
Yes. So it's not, oh, can you pick the kids up from school today? It's not, hey, you're going to go to your dad's house this weekend. To do it. It's and then they might not be struggling because some people are self-sufficient. We just talked about, but it's extremely important for us to make that deciding factor, because we have the stigma of I'm a single parent, but it's like, I don't know, man, because don't y'all live at your mama house? Like, are you really a single parent?
It always seems like when they say a single parent, it means that they have to be struggling.
Yes, that's not the case either.
It's not.
I actually have a close friend of mine who was supposed to be here, but she's sewing for a bridal show this weekend. She has had her daughter since birth by herself. The father of her child lives in a different state. Mm-hmm. And they rarely see each other. Like, I think he maybe has seen her twice since she's been alive, and she is 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. And she is completely comfortable. She has a house. She has multiple businesses. She just graduated from college. So she's living fine. So I don't think that that's necessarily we need to break that stigma too. Like you said, just because you're a single parent doesn't mean that you're automatically struggling. When we come to the toxic part of what does a single parent mean, and what I was saying is, how do we become a single parent other than the people who choose to be single parents? Right. It's usually a relationship or just a meeting of sex, because sometimes children are products of not relationships.
People making long-term decisions. Short-term
yes, because literally, scientifically, it takes maybe a millisecond for a sperm to penetrate the egg. And for it to become fertilized, it's less than 72 hours. So do I really want to make a lifelong decision based off of a millisecond of my life? Probably not.
But it happens.
But it does happen, and it happens more often than not. We get into the baby mama, baby daddy stage, because if you were never my boyfriend, or if I was never your girlfriend, and now we've created a human together,
it's not much you can expect.
It's not much you can expect, and especially if you really don't know that person that well. Mm-hmm. Because if you are having sex with someone that you've known, I say 5 minutes, but literally it's probably a few weeks.
Right.
And in that few weeks, you barely know this person's last name. You might not know where they live or where they work or what their family makeup is. You don't know if they have a history of mental illness in their family, or obesity, or heart disease.
It's no homework being done.
It's no homework being done. And then you decide to have sex with this person recklessly, and now you're about to have a baby. And then when you're about to have a baby, that's when you realize, oh, this person is not really someone that I want to live with for the rest of my life.
Well, and not even that. It's not even someone that you had rather created a life with.
Yes, so you might not have chosen that person.
Unfortunately for us, however we want to look at it, a lot of us is in our DNA.
Yes.
It's generational curses.
Generational curses that we're not necessarily aware of.
And we have, exactly. So when it's a certain character, certain things that you're dealing with, and you don't know how to deal with them, it's a foreign thing to you.
Especially when you are presented with, make a decision right now. Yeah. Make a decision about this person that you've known for 5 minutes right now, right this second. So I feel in the Black community, this is a stigma that plagues us the majority of time, because we have developed a stigma that says, or like a man-made mentality, if I have a baby by you, we are bound to each other. Or if you have a baby by me, you cannot leave me. Or you shouldn't leave me, because we spent 5 minutes together. We should spend the next 18 years together.
But that's not love. That's possessive.
That's possessive. But I want to own you. So that's why I want to bear your children. I want to know that I'm going to have to look at you. You're going to have to look at me for 18 years.
Hey, you hear that? Okay, just keep that in mind.
I want to have to look at you for 18 years. I want you to have to look at me for 18 years. Yeah. So it's not necessarily, because when we consider the biology, mm-hmm. men create new sperm every single day. Your sperm swims slower as you get older. Women are born with all the eggs they will ever have for the rest of their life. So in theory, you could impregnate as many times as you're able to ejaculate throughout the day. You could impregnate that many women a day. So let's just say you impregnate 5 women a day for a year, and you end up with X amount of children. Mm-hmm. Women, because we're only born with that amount of eggs for the rest of our lives, we're only able to carry 1 baby per calendar year, period. That's because you have to wait 6 weeks before you're able to get pregnant again, before your uterus reduces back down to size, and you're able to hold an egg together. So in that time...
if that's the case, how do we get? I guess it's time for another.
If you're producing this amount of babies, semen is not something that's necessarily cherished. Teenage boys leave semen in tissue.
Grown men do that. So,
grown men
I understand.
Semen in tissue.
I got you.
Our eggs are ours to have. So saying, I want you to look at this child, especially as I look at this child, when literally it could have just been in a tissue for you. It's not something that's literally not something that a lot of men can conceive. So I'm not saying that the majority of these women who are becoming single parents are becoming single parents because the men necessarily understood what was going on. Because for men,
so it makes in essence of that, it kind of are you saying that women have it? That's kind of like the nature's law. You know how a mother cub die for her child.
Yes.
Is that why the instincts are so strong?
The instincts are very, very strong for the children. So when we say, well, legally in the state of Texas, I don't really know a lot about a lot of other states, but Texas, the child automatically goes to the mother. Period. Like if you don't even have any paperwork in place, it's set up for the mother.
It's
and it's not necessarily because they look at numbers and say, well, the dad makes this amount of money and the woman makes this amount of money and they have these types of houses. It's the child goes to the mother. And that's in a marriage. That's in documentation. If you have a baby mama, baby daddy situation and you barely know these people, you don't even have that type of documentation. Right. So when we talked about possessive and ownership, that is the only way they're able to own that man. Because really, you can make a woman a mother before you can make her a wife, if you really don't want to. Because when you make her your wife, you really have to want to. So True. If I want to look at you for 18 years, all I have to do is have your baby.
Legally, it's true. Yes.
So when we use that type of context of like, well, I own you because we made a child together, that creates a toxic environment. Because what if you were imprisoned spiritually by a person that you could not leave? Because you're told, well, if you leave, then you're never going to see this child again. And then you develop a love for that child because you're like, oh, I produced this child. When in reality, that's not necessarily the case because that is really her child. You legally, at the end of the day, it's her child. So when you pick up and leave, it's no, because we weren't really together, and I kind of told you that I didn't want any children, and you don't own me. Nobody owns anybody until, like, first of all, we all owned by the Lord, and then, right. Then when you want to own someone, you have to put the work in. You have to put.
It's an effort. It's the effort.
A step behind it's a commitment. It's a step behind it. There is no step behind 5 minutes of sex.
If that long.
Right. There's no step behind that. So when we're talking about in the Bible, we have women back in the day. It was shameful to say you have a child out of wedlock. Mm-hmm. When did we get into a point where being a baby mama or a baby daddy was a badge of honor?
Whatever. I'm gonna assume same time that they decided that it was okay to be side chicks. So it's the mentality.
Another episode.
That's just the mentality of the people.
I'm asking that because there was a point in time where if I got pregnant by so-and-so up the street, he had to marry me.
Because it's morals now. It starts at home. So it starts back to that whole single parent thing. If you choose to be a single parent, then you're not allowed. But how can you tell me I'm choosing to be a single parent if you had sex with me? Okay, well, I'm saying you're choosing it when it's the man is trying to put forth the effort. Yes. And you're on some. The only way you're going to see him is if you
be with me.
Yeah. And then on top of that, all of a sudden, the same person in which you chose to make this
child with,
now he's
everything but a child of God.
And your baby ain't safe with him. I don't know what you're doing with him. So it's all of that to me is just it's a tactic to keep.
It's a tactic to keep the person. Exactly. Now I'm not saying that men do not also trap women. I've seen it happen.
Of course.
But I'm saying in terms of the single parenting facade that we have created for ourselves,
it's anomalies to everything.
But
most times the opposite.
Because that's usually how a lot of single parenting situations happen. You break up or you outgrow each other. You are allowed as a person, as a human, to move away from anybody who becomes poisonous to you. If that person produced a child by you and they become poisonous to your spiritual and mental health, you are allowed to leave. You do not. It's not a prison. People are not prisons.
No. Like, again, that's you can't possess someone.
You cannot possess someone.
Even in a marriage, you don't possess them.
Right.
A marriage is not to show possession. It's to show, if nothing, commitment and
devotion.
I'm willing to share anything I got.
Yes.
Like they're saying
But if you have not gone through that level with someone that you produce a child with, you don't have ownership of them or anything that they possess.
And back to the child is yet a possession.
The child is the possession of the woman.
Okay, so in essence of that, that because those are off the facts,
right? Factually,
factually. Does us having, say, intimate knowledge of the facts, because does that change the morality of it?
I wouldn't say that it changes the morality of it. Morally,
or I'm saying, because I can stand up and walk away and say, well, shit, I don't have any children.
You could
with those, because that's facts.
Because you haven't married any of those women,
and those are facts.
Those factually. So morally, what we were talking about, morally, you have a responsibility to God and you have a responsibility to yourself first. So I was looking at articles earlier today. Well, I really wasn't. I had asked God to send me things that could kind of hold up the foundation of this thing, and then I was flooded with information from all aspects. But that's how God always do me. He always give me abundance of what I ask for. So this woman made a status, and it was talking about, when you say that we are bitter baby mamas, you need to understand that we're trying to keep our children safe. And it was article after article of men killing the mothers of their children and taking the children with them. It was one of the articles said, woman shot during a child exchange, man kills mother of his child and then himself, man kills daughter and then himself. Wait, I'm with you. But it was only told, her side of the story was only, this is the reason why I'm not allowing whoever it was, I don't know who it was to her, to see his children. But we don't look at the other flip side of the coin. Why
How did we get there?
Would that man kill you just for exchanging his child? And I can tell you, Craig, probably before, when I was a teenager, I had no understanding of this concept, because I was raised by a single mother, and she was a single person, and she was a single mother. She had no help from anybody. I don't ever remember my mother even asking my grandmother or anybody in my family for a loaf of bread. She had 3 of us before she was 20 years old. She worked the entire time she was pregnant with all 3 of us. My mama got her GED from Dallas Can. She was a single mother. I never saw, my father was in prison, and when he wasn't in prison, my mother wasn't worried about him. My youngest brother has a different father than us. I never saw my mama so much as chase him down. She didn't put his stuff on the curb when he made her mad. Like, I never saw that. Right. So when I got older and I saw the toxicity that a lot of these people were living in,
it had been, yeah.
My husband used to be my best friend, and I remember talking to him about it, and he was like, well, that's how everybody is. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's not normal. It's become so normal that people think that way. And when I was reading those articles, I was recalling situations for people who were close to me where one of my family members, I won't name the family member, he left this girl who had a child with her because he was going to travel out of town on a trip with another girl. And him and this girl, they weren't married and they hadn't been together since they were teenagers. She called and reported him as a terrorist so he couldn't board the plane. My mind,
she should be in jail for that. That's what my mind say. Ain't no way around it. She should be in jail. Like,
he was he was going to make money because what he does for a living, he travels for it, and she did that. And that was before I was 20, and my soul was rocked that somebody would do something like that,
like knowing
to someone. And I And then the crazy thing is, that's not even the craziest thing that I have seen happen in those toxic situations. So when I, as a woman, was reading those articles, I was thinking, I can see why some people would shoot some of these people, because they become spiritual terrorists. And when you decide, like you said, well, I'm walking away, I don't have any kids anymore, you're looked down upon, because it's like, Craig, how could you produce these children? Yeah. But you have the right, anybody who's watching this, you have the right to walk away from anybody who becomes poisonous to your spirit.
I agree.
Period. Like, you don't owe anybody an explanation but the Lord. Well, and the God already knows what you've been going through. Like, that's it. It's that simple. That's what I'm doing this channel.
Really. It's a shame that it's not women. And you're saying that, do you have any children?
I do. I have 3.
Okay. Thank God that you are a mother saying these things, because it would change a lot for us.
That's why I felt that it was necessary for this to be episode 1.
Exactly. I'm glad that your mother saying that, because somebody would definitely, first thing they would probably think, she must ain't got no kids. Exactly.
I do.
So now,
and I've never busted out a window on a man. I've never
I don't know that life.
And haunted.
I've
never held a child over somebody's head.
Yeah.
Like, you can live your life not doing these things, but I think it's the fact that these things have become so normalized that we think, well, I should do this. This is something that I should be doing. If I want him to do this, I should do this, because this is what such and such did.
Exactly.
And it's ridiculous. So
you can't. I'm saying right now, what one person can do, another person may not have a chance in hell doing. So you can't live I'm saying that to say you can't live your life off of other people's experience.
That's
so
true.
much as trying to mirror the thing. All you can use it as information. You know what I'm talking about? But there's nothing like you said. There's nothing like an understanding.
It's nothing like an understanding or an explanation.
In essence of that, excuse me for to say, but it's like the Bible. It's just a reference.
From multiple people.
I'm saying you can go there and find something. It's like referencing. It's just looking up information. You're referencing something. So in order to get a means to an end.
Right. So we've dove really deeply into the toxicity of it. So let's talk about the correct way to do it. Because you said that are you a single dad, or are you a single person parenting?
Single person parenting.
Okay, so single person parenting.
I'm gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it with the facts.
We're gonna
I might want to use that.
We keeping it with the facts.
So yeah, because I don't have to do it alone.
Okay, so we're gonna say, if you are doing it alone without the help of the custodial parent, because that person has died, or because the energy just got too toxic and you fear for your safety, or that person felt for their safety, children need, based off of my child development background, because I wouldn't just come up here saying stuff, children need love, safety, consistency, and a non-toxic environment to thrive, like a plant. Children are basically plants. So when you water the plant, when you feed the plant, when you do what you're supposed to do, that's how it grows. You have to be the person that you want your child to become, and you can't force accountability on the non-custodial parent, because like you said, what one person understands, the other person may not. Because if you are becoming a single parent and you're adjusting, let's just say you are in a happy, healthy relationship, which is usually not the case when things become single parents. But if you are in a happy, healthy relationship, okay, so Bob and Karen, I don't know why I'm using Bob and Karen. That's what I'm using today. Bob and Karen are in a relationship. They have been together for 5 years. They have a 2 and a 3-year-old. And Bob works, Karen works. She believes that they're completely happy. And then Bob decides, you know what? Today's going to be the day that I leave. I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm moving. I already have an apartment. Karen then has to adjust to becoming a single person parenting. How does she do that?
And either she can do that, or she can have the idea that she's above us. She's above us. And, that's where the moment comes in. Okay, we say we're going to keep it good.
We're going to keep it good.
Okay. She accepts that it's not the kid's fault.
Mm-hmm.
And that they still have a father, because he didn't say anything about not wanting to be their father.
He just said he didn't want to be with her.
Exactly. So she's not going to allow him to become or have the room to be inconsistent.
Yes.
She's going to always give him that rope.
to be able to be a father or decide not to be a father.
She's not
without saying to the children, Bob don't want to be y'all daddy no more.
Well, by not, she's not going to even make them part of their demise. Because he never mentioned
he has the choice on what he wants to do.
So anytime that the kid's thinking about their father, she ain't got to run down and be that son handle
the phone,
whatever. So when they call, if he's not, he's gonna be their father,
right?
Whatever that case may be.
And she's the mother, and now she's taking up more slack because she was used to him being there every day.
Well, and two, if he was already traveling, going out of town, and all that good stuff, and was maybe not as
present.
You can't make it be. You can't change his routine now.
Right, like I want you to be with them 24/8.
Well, you can't change his routine to fit the idea that he didn't want you.
Yes. Exactly.
I think that's ain't coming to the game. Well, he already wasn't because he was working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just keep. If nothing, you're going to
keep
the
wheels turning the way that it was turning with the absence of the other parent.
Yes. Like, I can't tell her how to go on and be a single woman because that's not my concern, or that's not his concern.
It's only how to be a single person parenting.
It's not. She wasn't supposed to tell him, or he wasn't supposed to tell her. Yeah, going on and be with
Charles.
You and Ray go be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now don't pick for who.
Because it's only about the children.
Exactly. Just leave about the kids.
All right.
And don't stop that relationship from being able to float.
Okay, we are about to go to a break right now. I think that was some very healthy dialogue. So stay tuned, and we'll be back at you in a minute.
Who you wanna be, baby? You just let me know, what's got into you. When I enter me, let your spirit free, let your spirit free. I'm not after you, stop attacking me. Let your spirit free, let your spirit free. What's got into you, it can't get to me. Let your spirit free, let your spirit free. What is stopping you is your energy. Let your spirit free, let your spirit free. Bring us happiness, peace and blessings. Bearing fruit, fill up crops, set up shop for less. On the blocks out west of aristocrats. Saw the other side, saw that lower self. Got them laying flat, 2D on they back. Triple D, I'm back. Matchbox, all of that. Wavelength hard to match. Turned up to the max. TV on the mask. Cracks off in the glass. And I just gotta be myself. Yeah, you just get to know yourself. Yeah, who you wanna be, baby. You just let me know. Yeah, what's got into you. When I enter me, let your spirit free, let your spirit free. I'm not after you, stop attacking me. Let your spirit free, let your spirit free. What's got into you, it can't get to me. Let your spirit free, let your spirit free. What is stopping you, is your energy. Let your spirit free, let your spirit free. Using all my hustles, counting all these blessings. Is just a fraction of all my struggles. Through L's, learn lessons. That's what Chance said. Feel more connected with most of my partners than relatives. Found heaven on earth, heaven on earth. Had to go through hell. I am a man, I am a man. Along with all my goals and plans, my goals and plans. There is no fear in my heart, fear in my heart. Designed to glow in the dark, glow in the dark. What's got into you, when I enter me. Let your spirit free, let your spirit free. I'm not after you, stop attacking me. Let your spirit free, let your spirit free. What's got into you, it can't get to me. Let your spirit free, let your spirit free. What is stopping you, is your energy. Let your spirit free, let your spirit free. Who you wanna be, baby. You
Welcome back from break, y'all. We have another guest who has joined us, Destiny, to give us the female divine energy perspective. We appreciate you for coming, Destiny.
Thank you for having me.
So when we stopped at the break, we were talking about forcing accountability onto the non-custodial parent. So first, I didn't even ask, Craig, how many children do you have? How many children do you have?
I have 8 children.
Okay, you ain't gotta be ashamed of it.
I'm not
like I said,
ashamed
you make
of it.
millions of sperm.
I mean, real talk. I'm not ashamed of it. Like, if anything, I should be patting myself on the back. But I don't want. I don't want to seem like
you
that.
have 8.
It's not to seem like that's not something to glorify.
No, I'm
just
not throwing
I kind of
shade at all.
won. You know
I'm
what
not
I'm
throwing
saying?
shade at all. How
Excuse
many
me.
different women, if you're comfortable saying?
I have 5 baby mothers.
Okay,
I do.
and you've never been married.
I have.
You have? Do you have children by your ex-wife?
I do. I have a daughter by her, and that's one of those situations where bitter women. Like, I understand it.
Okay.
Now, rather, all day long, I could take responsibility for what I done.
What you done as far as produce the children, or what you done as far as the marriage?
Yeah, the marriage.
Okay.
But you can't. To me, that's that situation. That's how I know women will. They
Use children as
dismiss.
tools?
They dismiss the moments when we were present, or they turn it to make it, seem like well, you left me, and when you left me, you left. So that's why I was saying
that's not how that works. Destiny, how many children do you have?
I have 2 boys.
Are they by the same person?
They're by the same person.
And are you a single parent, or are you a single woman parenting?
That's a good question. I would say.
Do you do it alone? You don't have to do it. It's not all alone, is it?
I am alone.
No. But
do
you don't
get
have any help from the non-custodial parent?
I have some help.
Regardless,
Very
I'm saying, so that makes it. And I'm just
But
here.
it's like Santa Claus help. Like, they just, whenever they pop
Every
up.
blue moon.
Right.
So not necessarily consistent
Not
co-parenting. So it would be
like if I asked, hey, could you get the boys on this date? It's not gonna happen. But whenever he, pops up, he wants to see them.
You stop that though?
No, every time I'm like, sure.
You allow? Okay. So
See,
you would be a single mother, because you wouldn't necessarily be co-parenting because it's not an equal exchange.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about how we already talked about how we got to this generation of toxic single parenting or co-parenting. So the single parenting in our generation is not necessarily the same as the single parenting in the generation before us, because like I was telling Craig, my mother was a single mother. Like, it was no outside help. She was actually taking people in, parenting them as we were being raised. And she had all of us before she was 20. And I've never not seen my mother work. I've never seen her ask anybody for anything. And we had some tough times where we might not have had lights or water at the same time. But it was never she never blamed it on anybody. Okay. She never said, well, I shouldn't have got pregnant by this person. I never heard that from her. We are now in a generation of women, because we are the generation of fatherless women, because fathers just came back. I don't want to say that was gone, but fathers came back in style recently because what was that Tupac song? Dang, he said
Brenda got a baby.
Not Brenda's got a baby. I'm gonna remember it in a minute. He said something about how can you got your name from a woman and your name from a woman, and
that's Dear Mama.
Yeah, Dear Mama.
Okay.
I cannot listen to Dear Mama without crying, because Dear Mama makes me think about my mama. But yeah. So that might have been the generation, because my mother's father was in prison and he died, and then I didn't have a father because my father was in prison. We really don't have a lot of fathers in prison now. We have a lot of black men in prison, but there are a lot of black men who are active in their children's lives. So now we have switched to, not that we're just getting up, having nutting in women and walking away from them.
Well.
We are having men who are attempting to be fathers, at least some of them, because at first it was none of them.
Right.
Attempting to be fathers, and like what Craig was saying, they're being met with walls. So we have a generation of fatherless women defining what makes a real man. Because you might have a man who wants to be a father, but he doesn't have any money, right? So he says, I can give my child my time. And then that woman says, children need more than time. And then that exact same woman, when you get a job, says, well, you always working and you don't ever want to see your kids. So then when you get off work and you go to pick up the kids, I don't want you picking up my kids in this car.
Well, steady making. Well, where they going? Who they gonna be around?
Yes.
As if your ideal of who
that man should be who they can be around, or what their personal life choices.
Exactly. What makes your decision of who they
when that has nothing to do with the fatherhood aspect. So being a father is not being Barack Obama. Being a father is not being Daddy Warbucks with the money. It's not I have the availability to be at the school every 5 minutes. That's not necessary, but it's whatever that woman's idea of what a father should be that dictates how she feels that you should parent her children. So when that turns around, we have, like what Craig was saying, he has multiple baby mamas. He only has one ex-wife.
Didn't really say it, but yeah.
I mean, you do. Yeah. He has multiple baby mamas, and there's plenty of that's the norm right now.
Right.
How do we get to having multiple baby mamas? Not you personally. I'm not attacking you. Right. I'm only asking, how does one get to having multiple baby mamas in y'all's opinion?
I would say probably not having any consistency. Like, you just
with the woman.
With the woman, you like, okay, I don't like her anymore. I'm gonna go to try something else, and then you obviously not using protection, so. Boom, you're like, okay, well, it's not working out. I'm gonna go try something
first
else.
Time. It's making long-term decisions with short-term individuals.
Or it could be the gaps, like how far apart are your children in age?
Like the
stair step.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have none of my children are older than 10.
Okay. Well, this is a judgment-free zone here, Destiny. We don't judge people.
I mean, but none of my children are older than 10.
Okay.
And I'm 35. So
okay.
Ain't like I just went out there and just started.
My father has 10 children, and I'm the oldest, and he is 45.
My grandpa had 12. My grandpa had.
Look, you ain't saying it right. So when I consider people with multiple baby mamas, I think of sexual recklessness, love and self-love and self-esteem, and also poverty proximity. Because I know many a man who have baby mamas just because they live 2 houses behind their grandma. Not necessarily because they knew this woman, because they did the homework and they found out how many people in her family got diabetes, or if they have a history of mental illness, or if she would be a candidate for a good mother. It's just, I went to this party and Destiny was there and I thought her booty was big. So I had sex with Destiny. So 6 months later, when Destiny finally ran up on me, because I ain't seen her in 6 months, and she tell me that she's pregnant, I tell her, I don't even know you. And I don't know if I want you to have my baby. And you say, well, you were the best 5 minutes of my life. And I'm not killing my baby. So you're going to be with me. You're going to look at me for 18 years. So when we get to that happening, because when you consider, especially young black males, they're not necessarily taught enough about intimacy or what sex leads to. It's mostly, just like I said, with the tissues in the bathroom with the teenagers, I just need the next person to make me feel good.
Have you ever sat down just because someone told you to stand up? Have you ever continued to sit down?
I can personally say that I'm not really that type of person.
No. What I mean,
but I know that I teach high school, so I know that's what people do. What they are told.
So it's almost like sticking the man with you gonna be with me, or you gonna. It's something like. Excuse expression, you lost your damn mind. You gotta be like.
I'm my own person.
When you force anything on somebody.
But we're not talking about that, Craig. Because they didn't force you to have sex.
No, but no, I'm talking about. But when you come at it with the idea of
we gonna have this baby, we gonna make it purpose. We gonna make it permanent.
Well, you trying to give it purpose instead
of sex.
Well, even the ideal of us having this baby, it's not like anything that was meant to be will be. You don't have to give it purpose. When you coming at me saying, oh, well, you got me pregnant. Now, you going to be with me? No.
Not today.
Oh, you going to see me 18 years? No.
I don't have to.
No.
But that is a freedom.
And simply due to the ideal of, are you really considering all the facts? Because you remember, girl, we met, it was 5 minutes at the party.
Yeah.
I probably really wasn't.
So when you and you don't know this man either. Let's change it, because I don't like putting this bad energy on Destiny. Let's say Crystal.
It's not on. Oh shit.
Okay, so you met Crystal. Met the Crystal at the party.
Oh my goodness.
But now Crystal is saying we gonna make this work. We're gonna raise this child together. So what happens when Craig says, Crystal, I just met you at a party 6 months ago. I barely know your name.
Right.
I don't even remember your
feelings.
It's gonna hurt her feelings, but does that mean that Craig should be responsible for that baby?
in the essence of
Technically,
moral.
yes.
That's the moral part. Like
Yeah.
how are
Morally,
we
she should have kept her
raised?
legs closed for a man she known for 5 minutes.
Well, morally so, but that's where you allowed yourself to be
Okay, so that made me think of something.
part of the moment.
Because my mom was younger.
If
My
you
mom
could
was
say
younger
the
than my
spiritual
dad.
Part of y'all connected
So
thing.
whenever she got pregnant, she didn't tell him. She wanted to get pregnant. She wanted a baby because she wanted somebody to love, right?
She wanted the baby to love her or the man?
She wanted the
baby.
baby.
Okay.
She
wanted
didn't tell him that
something.
she got pregnant. So when she got pregnant, you know, he didn't really know. He didn't even think it was his baby. And she was okay with it. And she, like, I would never remember her putting him on child support.
Because
or
she
harassing
wanted
him
that
because
baby
she
for
wanted the baby
herself.
for
I mean,
herself.
because she technically, what we just learned in our last before the break, the baby was hers.
Right.
And some women again or people choose
But
to be
my
single parents.
well, you can choose to be a single
We talk- I'm
parent,
just
but
saying.
you cannot choose then after you've chosen to be a
To be a
single parent
co-parent.
to be a co-parent, because technically you didn't give this man the option to be a father. So saying now I'm struggling, I ain't got nobody to help me.
Okay, so I got a question. What do you think about, like, let's say I got pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to keep the baby.
Okay,
But the guy begged me
presses you to have the baby.
presses me to have the baby.
Well,
Do you think that then, okay, when it doesn't work out, I should say, hey, you know, I need
You
your
asked
help
me to
because
have
you
this
asked me
baby.
to have this baby.
and not even need your help. Like, in all honesty, that's like, if we should get into all that, like, to me, the only way for me to believe that it was that way is going to have to be some type of agreement that was made.
Okay, so
from
let's
the
talk
gate.
about mental stability a little bit here. So when we're talking about, like you said, was it your mother who wanted to have a baby? Mentally making the decision that I want a baby to possess because I want to be loved is probably not something that's entirely healthy, because she might not always be at that mental state. So when she is no longer at that mental state and now she's looking, because the child might look just like the man that she barely
And
knew.
you get mad at that baby
And
every
she's
time.
mad at the baby because I wanted the baby to love me, but now I don't feel like that anymore. But now I have this baby. Also, with the man asking to have the baby, you should still consider the mental stability. If we're talking about sexual recklessness, lack of self-love, because some men produce a lot of children because they're lonely. My father was one of them. His brother got shot in the head next to him when he was 15. He produced 10 children after that. Over time. Now, he loves all of his children, but they're with so many different women with so many different personalities that I know for a fact, even though my father's one of the most loving and charismatic people that I know, he doesn't want to deal with all of those women.
Man,
So when you're making those mentally unhealthy decisions, if my husband was to walk up to me today and say, I feel like we need to have 10 more children today, I would ask him why. And if he said, I just need 10 more people to love me, no, I'm not going to give you 10 children just because you need somebody to love you, because that's unhealthy, because you're not always going to feel that way. So when we are making these lifelong decisions off of temporary emotions, you have to revisit what was the conversation like at first, because like I said, if you know that man for 5 minutes and he asks you for a baby, you don't know this man. You don't even know why would he would say something like that. So let's get into when you become a single parent. And like you said, you ask for the baby, or I find it endearing or unnerving when a lot of single parents are asking for pats on the back. Tell me I'm doing a good job for buying my children school clothes. Tell me I'm doing a good job because I bought groceries today. Tell me I'm doing a good job because I got my daughter's hair combed. Tell me I'm doing a good job. I think that if this is the job that you have chosen, you chose to be a single parent because of whatever the circumstances were. Just like when you go to work every day, you don't get an employee of the month or employee of the day every time you clock in.
But-
These are your children.
Yeah, because I agree with that. That's kind of like you can't ask a person to babysit their own kids.
Yeah,
just
like you
kinda-
don't watch your daughter today.
Yeah, you just got your own child. I mean, you can't. Well, you can't.
Situation
You know,
often.
Girl, I gotta
Yeah.
stay at home
You
with my
can't be
kids
like,
today. I
yeah, I
mean,
gotta
they your
babysit the kid.
kids
Like, what you
though.
mean?
Who
You
else
gonna
supposed
kick it
to
with
stay
them?
at
So-
home?
Right.
But in the same breath, it's kind of like, all right, you got it where women, as an individual, it's okay for her to be praised for being a good mother.
I'm not saying
there's nothing
that.
wrong with her
Appreciation
saying. Like I disagree.
gratitude
Like,
is
but so that's
good.
what I'm saying. Don't get mad at an individual, whether it be female or male, when they do kind of give themselves that pat on their back. Now, as you saying, you don't think that they should look for it. that's almost. I mean, you don't bless someone thinking of how it's coming back.
Yes.
Do you?
Are you feeding your children so that I can tell you?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No,
you should be feeding them kids.
You just
not
out of
ramen
line.
noodles today. You cook some food. That's great.
Exactly. So no, that doesn't matter. But in the same breath, sometimes it takes looking at your situation because you couldn't. What about that time she didn't pay the light bill
and now the lights is on?
So now it's kind of like, you know what, I did that. And so you can't get mad at that.
Go ahead, Destiny.
I was just gonna say. So what do you think about the idea of like when you are co-parenting? And let's just say, I say, okay, well, can you watch the kids? And you say, okay, well, you're going to have to bring them clothes or shoes or food, and I'll do it.
I would say it depends on the people because you have circumstances where you're co-parenting with someone who might not be as stable mentally or physically as you are. So if you know they don't have a washer and dryer and you're sending a toddler over there, toddler's going to get dirty. So sending multiple pairs of clothes, it's not like, well, I ain't sending my baby. Exactly. I ain't sending my baby with nothing. You better buy some clothes, but then the baby come back.
Never come back. Really.
The baby got on, one of your baby daddy jerseys, and he's like, dang, maybe I should have sent my. But if it's like I was saying to Craig earlier, if it's I don't like the way your mama fabric softener smell, so you can't go back over there. Like those types of control things, I feel like with the sending clothes over there, that's the difference of opinion and the difference of the person. If you have you sending your kid somewhere where you know that all he eat is chicken nuggets, the man only eats chicken nuggets and Totolino's pizza, you might want to send them some snacks.
Right.
You know, because if that's not something that they normally eat at home, they might get sick. When I was talking about the pass on the back, I was more specifically about a year ago. There was a Facebook video where there was a young girl sitting on the porch of her house crying, having a breakdown because she said she didn't want to be a mother anymore. She wasn't necessarily having a nervous breakdown. She had a baby. The baby was maybe 6 months, and she had just found out she had maybe 5 kids, maybe think they had 3 or 4 different daddies. And the last daddy of the youngest baby was now having another baby. So she was having a breakdown like, I feel like the daddies can just come and go as they please, and I don't know if I can do this anymore. I'm ready to give up just like he did. So that is when I say, you selected this life. You chose to lay up under 4 different men. I have a phone call. Oh, snap. Okay. Hi, person.
Hey, how you doing?
I am doing excellent. How are you? Kelvin.
I'm great. How you doing?
Very distinguished name, Kelvin.
Kelvin, yes, the unit of measurement. That is me.
All right. Okay. How many children do you have, Kelvin?
I have 1 daughter. She's 10.
Are you married to the mother, or were you ever married to the mother?
I was married to the mother. I was. We did 4 years. I say that like a prison sentence, but forgive me. We did 4 years together. We was married.
Yeah,
are you a single parent parenting, or are you a single person parenting or a single parent?
Yeah, I'm a single parent.
All right.
Her mom has her on the weekends. I take care of her during the week.
Okay, so you're co-parenting.
Yeah, you can say that, I guess.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for joining our conversation.
No problem.
So yes, in the she was doing in the video, and she was having a breakdown because she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to do it anymore. She felt that we had come into a context where men could come and go as they please. But like I was explaining before, those are her children. Those are her children that she chose to have. If she had 4 different baby daddies and none of them stuck around, when do we say you might be the problem? Because if 4 different men decided, you're not something that I want to be permanent in my life, then maybe you should consider the types of men that you're choosing and how you're presenting yourself. Because I don't know anything about the baby daddies or anything, right, but I don't feel like she should have been sitting on that step saying she didn't want to be a mother anymore because it hadn't worked with 4 men, because those were still her children. So I didn't understand that. So when you say like everybody deserves appreciation, when my babies make me cards, I have my middle child, he's 9. He is a supreme artist. He makes me cards the size of poster boards to put on my classroom wall. Aww. I love that. My oldest son, not as nice as my middle son, but he asks me how my day is every single day, even if he don't care. He will go get my shoes so I can put them on. My baby girl, she makes us maybe 8 or 10 cards and will lay them out on the dresser. Aww. Just to say how much just a heart with her name. Just to say how much she loves us.
With her name.
I appreciate that. So it's not necessarily about them not needing appreciation. It's the fact that, like, you just need to do your job at this point. Like, your job is to be a parent.
Do you think Kelvin feels like he deserves a pat on the back?
Kelvin, do you feel like you deserve a pat on the back?
As a parent?
Yes. As a co-parent?
Nah, no.
Why?
I'm doing what I'm doing what I was called to do, something that my daughter didn't have to be in this world. You know, so it's my responsibility. See, and I always tell her that. I tell her to tell me thank you when I do something out of the ordinary. When I feed you and clothe you, I don't need a thank you for that. Like, no.
Just like when you were married to your wife, you might not have needed a cookie every time you took out the trash.
No, because I'm supposed to do that as a man.
What kind of cookies we talking about?
Destiny, you had a comment?
Well, I just had a question about, like, let's say if you're co-parenting with your ex and then you get in a new relationship, how do you deal with that? And, like, let's just say that your baby's dad is like, well, now that you have a new guy, now why don't you ask him to do this instead of me now?
Well, that's just insanity because...
That's insanity.
Well, reason being is because he's making trouble where there is none.
You better preach on it, Craig.
Well, and that ain't me. I'm not knocking the other baby daddy. I'm keeping 100 with y'all. Like,
this is what we do here on UFLC.
If nothing, I mean, you should give him a thank you card for taking her off your hands if she that bad of a baby mama.
That's true.
Like, appreciate it picking her up.
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
telling you, I know some baby mamas that are so bad that I cannot wait till they get a boyfriend.
Saying. I'm
not. Find a man that can tolerate you.
I'm not gonna stop them from moving on. And
yeah, I agree.
I'm not one of those baby dads who under the impression that my baby mama's off.
You possess them.
Well, I can call them up anytime and get.
Yeah,
and probably why I don't be calling because I'm really I know if I get it, it's a problem. So it's different. It's a different reason behind everything. But yeah, definitely he should not be on some attitude especially if it's all the time.
You
like
if I say let that man be Future and let that new man be Russell,
because
he might be a blessing.
If nothing, you got to remember what kind of
blessing.
That's putting a stipulation on how that's giving her a margin of error to say who you can and can't be with.
That's true.
So I'm not gonna do that. That's one of my arguments. You're not gonna tell me who I'm gonna be with and not gonna.
Okay,
be with.
I got one more question.
Tell us how you really feel, Craig.
Ain't that something?
What do you think is too soon for somebody to meet a new person that you're dating with your kids?
It's none of their business. Like it's
no, the kids.
Oh, the kids. I think you need to know that person. You need to know them like as much as you would need to know them. You need to know if they like kids. You need to know if they have a history of problems. You need to know that if anybody in their family's been molested. Like you need to be deep, especially if you have little girls.
Okay.
Or if you are wanting, don't get with a man who you would not like your son to become, because that energy is transferable. Even if they don't have his DNA. They can become just like that person just from being in that in that person's area.
That's deep. So, do you think that you should get permission from the other parent before letting your children meet somebody new?
Definitely not. I don't think that a person who produces a child with anyone has any type of ownership of any part of their life. If that person, legally in the state of Texas, if you have paperwork with the parents of the child, if that person is a felon who had like a child pornography thing or something like that, some crimes against children, you have to notify the other parent. But like what Craig was saying, you give them grounds or rope to say, well, no, you can't talk to her. She got blonde hair in her head. You can't talk to her. My daughter can't be around nobody with blonde hair in her head. You give them options to say, to critique. We are running out of time and I want to make sure we get into child support. Okay, so technically the welfare and the child support system are connected. So if you are out, not you personally, Bob is out selecting women who are prone to be on government assistance. And if those women are prone to be on government assistance, as soon as he produces a child with that woman, he automatically gets on child support. I don't know if y'all knew that, but that is the case. And I also have some statistics. If a woman is receiving federal aid of any kind, that includes going to school, the non-custodial parent is placed on child support. 54% of non-custodial parents in the state of Texas owe more than $30,000 in arrears. Arrears are back child support, not including the payments that you have to make, not including the interest that the state of Texas charges. Did you know that if you owe $30,000 in child support and the custodial parent is on any form of government assistance, she would not see $1 of that $30,000.
Oh, really?
That $30,000 goes straight to the state to pay for Medicaid, food stamps, and whatever else that she is sitting down collecting, and it would not go to the child. So when you are paying child support, you're not even supporting the child, and then you can put someone on child support. Let's just say Bob has a 7-year-old. Child support goes back 4 years, and he was with the mother. They never got married, and then he up and decided, I don't want to be with this person anymore. That woman could then come back and say, I want 4 years back child support, even if Bob was living in the house with that woman. And then they're going to charge interest if she says that she never received $1, because technically you can be in the house with a child and never spend $1 on them, according to the state of Texas.
Well, actually, that happened in my situation, because I was married to my kid's dad, and he has a baby that's older than our two children, and even though he was there,
she still charged him back child support.
Once she found out I got pregnant, she put all the back child support, even though he was there and did his part. So.
Child support affects your ability to get a job, because your job checks your credit, and if they see you owe child support, they will not hire you.
And rentals.
Driver's license, your ability to rent a car, your mentality, because you feel defeated, you feel beaten, your credit, so you can't buy a house, and then ultimately you can be sent to jail or prison. None of those things are conducive to being a father. None of those things are conducive to being a father, but then we have child support being used as a tool of control. So just like Destiny said, when she got pregnant, her husband's previous baby mama decided to put him on child support. You get child support tools, because if you move on with your life, I'm going to put you on child support. If you stop having sex with me, I'm going to put you on child support. If your new girlfriend look better than me, I'm going to put you on child support. Even if I put you on child support because you had baby mamas 2 and 3, I'm really coming for you for baby mama number 4, because I feel like you're I cannot make this
I know that to be true.
I know this to be true. I don't want your life. Look, I've been stalking your Facebook and your Instagram account every single day, and it looked like you got a new car. I want to put you on child support because I don't have a new car.
I literally had a friend tell me this morning that same thing. She said, I think my baby daddy got his new girlfriend pregnant. She said, I'm serious this time. I'm putting him on child support.
I'm telling you, I can't make this up. Yes, sir.
I want to know if any of the parents that you brought on today would ever have another child.
Okay, with that same person, or just period? Okay, real quick.
I wouldn't have a baby with him.
The question was,
but
if you couldn't hear it, would any of the parents who are on today have another child with or without the person that they previously had a child with?
If I got remarried, I would have another child.
Go ahead.
Unfortunately, I've done that. I must be a pain freak.
Okay. Kelvin, would you have another child?
Yes.
Okay.
Not with my ex-wife, though.
I think that's cool that you guys didn't get burned from child bearing. And then, so yes, child support being used as a torture tactic or a tool to hold that person underwater, because with toxic co-parenting, which I'm guess we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this because we're running out of time. Oh my God. Exercising child support as a means of controlling a person is also an order of possession. Because if I know that Bob doesn't want to be with me and I have his child, I can use that child to control him. And then Bob decides, I don't want to be controlled by this child anymore. It's your child. I'm finna go because you wasn't my girl anyway. Now I can just put another weight on Bob's chest by saying, you're never going to be anything in life as long as I have anything to do with it. Because even when that child becomes an adult, you stop accruing interest, but you still owe the money to the state.
Very true. Yeah, my grandma literally said she's going to take my dad off her will, because if she dies, all his money that he'll get will go to all his child support cases.
See, that's... Whew. Okay. Wow. We only have... We're running out of time. This is the end. I want to say thank you. Thank you, Kelvin. Thank you, Destiny. Thank you, Craig, for making this first episode of the Unicorn Fairy Love Child channel successful, because I feel amazing. How do you feel?
I feel great.
Do you feel unpacked?
I love this energy right now.
Whatever that means.
I mean, I don't know. I just like the vibe. Thank you, everybody. And make sure y'all tune in to the next episode. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a part 2 of this, but this is probably going to be some type of series because I feel like we didn't even get in deep enough, and we got in pretty deep. So, thank y'all. Bye.
No problem. Too deep. I got 8 kids.